Welcome to the Indie Author Spotlight, where we interview indie authors about upcoming releases as well as life as an author, presented to you by Books, Brews, and Dogs. You can visit booksbrewsanddogs.com, purchase a blind date with a book, and support animal rescue efforts. Books, Brews, and Dogs is where you can buy a book and save a dog or a cat.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Books, Brews, Dogs podcast. I am in the process of moving, so ignore the mess behind me. It's a disaster. We have here with us today Amanda, who is AJ Ashton, is her writing author.
A name.
Author name. Whatever. Things are
that name.
I've got a big brain. Everything is disoriented.
Every day for me.
So we're here with Amanda, and we're going to talk about her. You have a book coming out. It's the third in your series for the Outcast series. That's not the name of it.
No, it's the Terranfall Chronicles.
Terranfall Chronicles, yeah.
Yeah, but every book's starts with Outcast. So it's Outcast Origins, Outcast New Beginnings, Outcast Returns. So I just like the flow of the names all being similar.
Yeah, and Terranfall is the last name of the main character, is it?
Yeah, so it's Laura Terranfall. So that's her name. So
okay, so that's why it's the Terranfall Chronicles, because it's her story from start to end. Well, is it really the end though? Because
no, she's got more to come. But it's just her journey from book one starts in Moonstar, where she's turned into the only hybrid. Then she leaves Moonstar, so book two is kind of her traveling to different continents and countries. And then she makes a promise at the end of book two that she's going to go home. So book three is her going home. So she's kind of gone full circle.
And that's the Outcast Return, which is the one that is coming out
September
12th?
September I can't remember saying I decided on the date and I can't remember the date. I'll look on Amazon, because Amazon's got the pre-orders, but I know the date for definite on there.
It's hard to keep track of all the dates because
2nd of September. It's the 2nd of September. That's it. There we go.
Yeah.
I knew it was September. Just the wrong week.
I understand. I do the same thing. I'm like, I know that I have to check when I set the interview up, but I know that it releases on this day because I try to record them the week before, or at least a few days before. I've only been able to read Outcast Origins because I've been in the process of moving and everything. And obviously Outcast The Return is not out until September 2nd. So Outcast New Beginnings. So at the end of Outcast Origins, she leaves. And so New Beginnings book two is her traveling around, and that's kind of like her finding herself type story, like discovering who she is.
Because she's book one is mainly she's trying to figure out who she is, also trying to look after her brother and help him become a Lycan. So she's kind of trying to be the big sister because they've got no family left, etc., etc. So she's trying to do that. And of course, she and Derwin go off at the end of book one to somewhere new. She kind of gives her brother a choice. You can come with me or have your life here, because it's not, I'm the one who's got to start again. You don't have to, but he decides to go with her. So they go off together. But when in New Beginnings, it's set 15 years later. So you have a little bit at the start of them getting there and everything like that. Then you find out that Derwin's found somebody and actually made a family. So then Laura's then on her own and become a sword for hire, and quite renowned sword for hire. So she's kind of living her life, getting to really know who she is, etc., etc. and book two's got kind of two adventures in it. So the first adventure is kind of more mystical and magical, where she then will bump into Khan again. And then there's a second adventure, which is the entire book two is roughly really her and Khan's love story. It's all about their journey and her finding herself as well and getting to know who she is and really thinking, yes, I am a kick butt woman who can kill demons very well, and I get a lot of money for it.
So she does meet Karn again.
She
So
does.
Karn, her love interest, which she meets early on in book one.
Yeah, she kind of cross paths with him when he's only a teenager. He's about 16, she's 21, and they literally just pass one another. And he's kind of like, oh, she's nice. He's a bit smitten. And then they go separate ways. But then they cross paths again about 5 years later.
Once he's an adult and now he's so it's a little bit reverse age gap because she's older, but she's immortal. So she still looks his age when they meet again.
Yeah.
And which he does remark on. He's like, you don't look like you aged at all.
Yes, he kind of starts to put stuff together, thinking, hold on a minute, you actually look exactly the same as when I saw you before. There's something's not quite right. And then of course she has to explain everything and he's like, whoa. But it's quite good how I've done it. And I like the fact I wanted to do, because a lot of age gaps are always the girl is the young and the man is 300 years old. And you're thinking, yeah, but I've got an immortal female character. She's the one who's the older one, and he's the younger one. Well, and because in book three, it's even more of an age gap because she's even older.
Yeah, and then so because she was like in her early 20s when they crossed path the first time, but she had just turned.
Yeah, it was within months of her being months of being turned that she first season. So she's literally not in any place or even interested in boys in that respect, because she did like a boy where something disastrous happened and she's kind of been put off him a little bit. But she's also trying to figure out what she is. She's got a 10-year-old brother and he's literally her life because they've got no family. She's got to look after him, so she can't. She's thinking, yeah, he's nice, but I've got my brother to look after. So I'm not really thinking about that. So go away, thank you. And he's only a teenage boy anyway, he's only 16, so it's like a bit young. But of course, then he becomes a nice grown man. And she's like, well, hey, hello.
So they're only about 5 years apart.
Yeah.
At the time. But then, of course, in book two, they're going to appear to be further apart than that.
Yeah. So there's going to be you get in book two, there's a lot of the fact that he's aging and she's not. Mm-hmm. So there's a point where they actually start to, in the public eye, act as father and daughter. In the privacy of their own space, they're lovers, but to everybody else, they're father-daughter. So it's kind of,
that's interesting.
They've got that aspect going on later in the book, because the book covers, it starts 15 years later and then then it will go again about.
Hold on one second. They made noises out. Come here, everybody. You're safe. I promise. You're okay. We've got, they're doing work on an apartment next door, and
so thinking, what the hell's going on?
Freaking him out. So we've got him on a little leash locked in here with me I apologize, everybody. He's like, what's going on? So as you were saying.
Yeah, so book two is kind of 15 years later at the beginning, then you get two time skips of about 10, 15 years. So there's like so many years later, they've gone somewhere else and he's a lot older. She, of course, looks the same. They have another adventure. And then there's a bit near the end where there's another time jump as well. There's two more time jumps. So you kind of get their full story. in that book.
Oh, that's cool.
So
Yeah,
it's
and
kind of like,
that's an interesting thing because it is usually always, the immortal tends to always be the male while the other is female. So you rarely have the love interest switching in
yeah.
here. I did
I don't
do
do the normal. I never do normal. I always do something slightly different. I think I'm hoping that kind of makes readers want to read my book because I don't do the norm. I don't do the norm for romance. I don't do the norm for fantasy. I don't do the norm for. There's a few things because I kind of think, well, I like this is what I like,
Mhm.
and then all my influences from gaming and watching films and stuff like that. I'm thinking, yeah, I've watched all this. I think, yeah, what all those bits in there as well. So I kind of just do my own thing and I make my characters, my female characters. I mean, to be honest, in Outcast Origins, she's the youngest. I've actually got a female character because she starts when she's about 17, then she's 21, then she becomes immortal at 21. So she still looks 21, but then in the rest of the book, she's getting older.
Yeah.
So, and then my Ranger Chronicles, in the first book, she's 25, 26. And in the second book, she's 45. So I don't do young female characters. Even the one I'm working on now, she's actually in her late 20s. Because I think partly because I'm in my 50s, I kind of thinking, well, I want my female character to be a bit more mature,
Yeah,
kind
it
of be.
a little weird sometimes as we get older to read. And that's something I've been noticing a lot because I follow a lot of book talk accounts and everything and selling books and follow a lot of indie authors. It is a trend I've noticed where the older generations, like, when are we going to start getting these older female characters? And so you start seeing that a little bit more. The first that I noticed it is when names. They made a TV show of it. Uh, Deborah Harkness is the author. Why can I not think of the name of the book?
Yeah, you're asking somebody who's got perimenopause brain, so
Yeah.
it's not gonna happen.
What's weird is I remembered the name of the author, but not the name of the book, and it's usually the other way around.
Yeah.
Um, but Deborah Harkness is the author. They made a TV show about it, but she was my first experience with a character that was older than teenage or 20s. Um, and it's really Discovery of Witches.
That's it. I was thinking it's there in the head, and I can't think of it coming.
And I'm sure there's other people that I don't know of, but that one was a much more popular book. And it came out, I think, 12 years ago or so. But it really didn't start gaining a ton of steam until right before they made the show. And I think that since then, there's been a slow yet steady uptick in exactly what you're saying. I want that character. And it's like when we got a little bit of a taste of that, going, I liked that. I want more of that. And so finding and discovering these indie authors, I'm discovering there's much more of that than we ever realized there was, because in the mainstream that's not it.
Yeah, because the thing is, it's the things that publishers and they're looking for what will sell, and they're looking at this is what we're going to be selling, and this is what we want to focus on. Where as an indie author, we go, yeah, but we like this stuff, so we're going to write this, and we all write stuff that probably isn't mainstream and probably won't sell, as in big publishing houses wanting all the big press and all this sort of thing. This is what everybody wants, is this. They're actually not looking at the bigger picture. They're seeing the main thing of, oh, this will sell. But there's all these other stories out there but actually readers are thinking, yeah, but that's nice, but I want something slightly different. And then that's why I think most people are looking at indies, because we do see that slightly different, because we don't go by the rules. We
Yeah,
do our own thing. We just write what we want to write.
a lot of those mainstream books start feeling the same after a while.
Yeah.
They feel it's like, can you give us something new? Which is why I think a lot of between book talk and bookstagram and everything, at least maybe it's just my algorithm because I've gone in that direction of like, what are these indie authors doing? Like, there's so much more out here than the same repeated tropes and these different changes and everything. And you guys have such unique takes on things that don't fall into that mainstream of everything starts to sound rote after a while.
Yeah. It was mainly with me, it was because I kept on thinking, oh, I like reading these books because I love reading fantasy, but I was going, yeah, but why is it always this? I want this. I want some kick-ass woman who's going to not want to be rescued and will just go and do stuff and probably have a bit of sex on the way. But really just saying, I want to get out there and kill monsters. And it's like, so that's hence why I started writing the books, because thinking, well, I want this, but I can't find this.
And I will say, like, so Outcast Origins has a little bit of romance in it, but not really until the very end.
Yeah.
And so I would have never really considered it a romance. I would consider it a fantasy with some romance. So like, because even though it's in there, it's not the focus of that book.
Okay.
And so I haven't gotten to New Beginnings yet. So that may come across different.
Got a bit more because it's more focused on them too. Because the thing is me, is that they always say with books that you've got to have your main characters need to come into the book within the first chapter.
Mm-hmm.
My main character doesn't come up until about the third chapter, and my love interest doesn't come until the last third of the book, really. Because the rest of the time it's all about her and Derwin, and then she does come across him earlier on, but then it ventures off him again because she's still got all this other stuff to do before she actually meets him properly, because it's kind of her story. And I'm thinking, well, I thought, I don't want to move it round to make it fit to the norm because that's not the story. Where book 2, it is a bit more, there is more romance in it because it is literally more about her finding Khan again and then their adventures together.
Yeah.
So there's a bit more sex in there, there's a bit more of the love interest and their connection, but there's still also lots of fighting and lots of monsters and all that lot as well. So it's a bit of a mix.
Yeah. Well, so what it sounds like is that Outcast Origins is almost like a prelude book.
Yeah, it's kind of setting everything up for kind of the next one. And then, but then again, you get to the third one, it almost goes back to a slow burn again because it's kind of her, and then she doesn't find the love interest till later on as well. It kind of is more adventure.
Yeah.
But there's crossover characters in book 3 as well. So you don't need to have read the Ranger Chronicles, but if you do read the Ranger Chronicles, you'll kind of recognise the characters. You go, oh, know that one.
Have a few little Easter eggs in there.
There's Easter eggs in all my books. There's a little Easter egg in there somewhere. There's that, I think in Outcast Origins, there's a bit where she's at her home and she's in the library and she's reading a book on the legends of Moonstar and she's wanting to know more about the Guardians of the Stone. The Guardians of the Stone is a story which is the Ranger Chronicles, which is the Quest of the Stone. That's about the Guardians of the Stone. And then in Quest of the Stone, there's this character called Ulrich who keeps on going on about this green-eyed sword who had experience beyond her years, and he met her fleetingly, but you can never forget her. That girl is Lara. So you've kind of got that little bit in there as well. And then, of course, in book 3 of the Outcasts, they actually had the crossover, mainly because Evie from my Ranger Chronicles and Lara kept on talking in my head, having this conversation in this inn, and they would not shut up. So I thought, you want to do a book together, don't you? And they kind of almost looked at me and went, yes, we do. because we both got stories. We've crossed over paths so many times. And I'm thinking, okay, so that's where the third book came from, because they would not shut up in my head until I'd written it down, and then it kind of went from there. Because I knew I was going to do the story where she went back to Moonstar anyway with Lava, but it was figuring out what the adventure would be. And of course, that was it. It was the crossover with Evie as well.
Okay.
And there's other characters pop up as well.
And for the Ranger Chronicles, which is the one, so you would read Outcast Origins, New Beginnings, and then if you wanted to do it in chronological, and this is
in timeline order, it's Outcast Origins, Outcast New Beginnings, Quest of the Stone, Quest of the Broken Stone, and then Outcast the Return.
Yeah.
But you don't have to. You can read the Stranger Chronicles, which is a duology, or you can read the Townfall trilogy, because I've done them in a way where I don't do cliffhangers. I don't like cliffhangers.
Mm-hmm.
I like to tie up the stories a bit. So even though the Townfall one, it's kind of it's a continuous story of Lara's journey. There is an ending to book one, there is an ending to book two, and there's an ending to book three. And the same with the the Ranger ones. There is an ending to book one, and there's an ending to book two. And somebody thought that Outcast Quest of the Stone was a one-off, and I went, no, there's another one.
Yeah, so it does. I did kind of get that feel in Outcast Origins where you could feel okay with ending right there, and you're not sitting here going, "Oh my God, when's the next book gonna come? When's the next book gonna?" Which of course, Outcast New Beginnings is out, and that is kind of a nice reprieve, especially because so many things these days are becoming series, and 5, 6 books in a series, and all of them are leaving you on a cliffhanger, and you're like,
or literally, I think I
like
read one
5
where
books I'm waiting on right now, going,
I
guys.
think I had one where it was like I was reading the paragraph and it went, yeah, and it was kind of the next sentence, turn the page, where's the next sentence? It had literally stopped, and that was it. And I was like, but you haven't even finished the paragraph, you've just stopped it there. that was even worse, but it's not even like on a cliffhanger, it was literally paragraph, and you're like, but almost like the author had gone, that'll do, split. Not actually looked and see where to split it.
Oh my goodness. But it's nice because it's gonna, I have other books I have to read for other interviews coming up, and so I do have to take a break from finishing your series. And it's nice to not be sitting there going, well, what happens? What happens? What happens? Because I have to focus on getting other stuff done in between. But even though it ends and it's a good ending, there was a lot of room for, ooh, I wonder what's going to happen next. And so you still leave kind of going, ooh,
what's going to happen?
What's going to happen after? Because she just takes off on a boat, right? So that's not a real ending, right?
No.
Because we're in an origin story. But it ends in a way where you're like, okay, I got a good story out of it. And when I'm ready, I can pick up the next one and go from there. And I'm not sitting here going, but I need to finish the next book, but I have to read this book, but I want to finish this book, and what do I do?
Because it's one of those where I kind of half think maybe I should do it more like to make readers want to kind of be desperate for the next book. But then I think, yeah, but that's one of my bugbears I hate about books, and I mean, I know a lot of people say that some people, readers will kind of wait till the series is fully out before they'll start reading the books, because they don't want to have that wait for the next book to come out. I mean, my son, he's read all the Game of Thrones books, and he's literally saying, I don't think we'll ever get the next book.
I know. I read the series as it came out, and to have to wait this long, I'm like, I would have, I mean, I'm gonna have to go back and reread all of them and I
I've
almost
read them
I
about
almost don't
several
want
times
to.
over.
Like at this point, I almost don't want to because it's just been so long that it's like
Yeah, it's just, I think my
much
son's come to the
work
point
and
where he says,
stuff that I
it's
put.
never going to happen. It is literally, that is it. We're never going to find.
It's
I kind of think, no. I mean,
think
mine, I kind of
they
want to think,
did.
I like to just tidy up things before. I think, yeah, that's a nice ending there. There we go.
Yeah.
That's it. And then that one's a nice ending there. There we go. And then the next one, my brain just says, yeah, that's the ending. That's nice. It ties things up nicely. Move on. So
Yeah. No, I like it and I appreciate it as a reader that I can have a series that I can go to where I can read the book and there's more to it, but I can end it in that way, especially when I have other things that I need to get into or involved in. Um, because now I do read, I try to read at least one book from each author that I'm interviewing. And so like that's a lot of required reading. Um,
yes, try and get into it really. So
but it's so that I can get a feel for your voice and what you're doing it and have something to actually talk to you about instead of going, why don't you tell me? Because I know nothing
and
about
I'm going, oh, which book are we talking about? I've got so many in my head.
it. I know because well, when we talked last time, you had a lot of projects happening
Yes,
as well.
yes,
So why don't
yes.
you
Because
tell us about some of those projects you have going?
right, well, hopefully my plan is next year. It was going to be part of an anthology book. The anthology's stopped now, so they were going to be standalone books anyway. But the theme was fated mates.
Mm-hmm.
So it's set still. Mine's still set in the world of Zentos, but it's on a completely new land. So I was making the map the other night. So I was going, make a map again. And I kind of wrote it was going to be a standalone book. That was my plan. Standalone, no more. But I had this one character who didn't know his parents, but I thought, yeah, whatever. Doesn't know his parents, doesn't matter. Still going to be a standalone book. It was fine until about the last chapter and this last scene when he sees this painting and it's his mum. And then all these questions are in his head, and the main female character comes up and goes, "Looks just that look it the family resemblance." And then you realise there's all this other stuff, and now it's become a duology. So this one's the kind of about it's fated mate. So this again, it starts off with my character's quite young, so she's about 16, he's about 20 roughly, something like that. No, she's a bit older than that. But they're young anyway. But then big thing happens with dragons. It goes to several years later. And she doesn't know where he is. She thinks he's dead. She's moved on with her life. So again, it's an older female character. But what they've got is they've both got this tattoo. He shows his in the first part of the book, saying, "Look at this," and she says, "Oh my God, that's one of those. You've got to be careful. You've got to keep them hidden because we've heard stories of people going missing because of these marks."
Mm-hmm.
But of course, then she gets an identical one, and they're very rare to get identical ones, and they're fated mates. She's trying to keep it hidden. She goes to find her brother, but then certain things start happening to the mark, and she can't understand what's going on. And of course, then she cross paths with her friend from childhood, who she thought was dead. And then it turns out that they are fated mates who can control dragons, and they actually can communicate with dragons, and they can use magical powers and stuff. And there's two kingdoms, an evil kingdom and the good kingdom. Evil kingdom's got dragons, the good kingdom's got dragons. And there's a big battle, really. And then, of course, book 2 is going to be more about who this lad is, who's one of the dragon marked, they also have a mark, but it's not the same. So they don't have all the magical properties that the fated mates have, but they are also destined to work with dragons. So they're kind of their army. So I've got all that going on. So I'm now working on book 2 because that's still going through my head at the moment. I'm only doing about 4 chapters, but at the moment it's kind of flowing. So I'm thinking just get it down.
I
But
always
then I've
love
got
dragons. So
yes, and it's the first time we've done dragons because, to be honest, in my Outcast, my Townfall and my Ranger ones, there's no dragons because the dragons have gone.
mhm.
It's hundreds of years later after dragons because they've not gone in extinct, but they've kind of left the lands and gone north, and nobody's seen a dragon in hundreds of years. Where this is set hundreds of years before, where there is dragons. And then I've got a book I actually wrote years and years ago, which is kind of hinted at in the New Beginnings about a war between a North and South Kingdom. And that's got dragons in it as well. So that's kind of a project I'm look at. And then I've got a few others on the go as well. Got all these little projects,
Lots of
all at different stages. So I've even got one where I've got Evie popping up again, but she's kind of a side character, and it's to do with a princess who's born on an eclipse, and she's got magical powers. So there's that one as well. So, but I just get an idea and think that sounds good, and start typing it up, and then either it dies a death, and I think, well, just leave it over there and let it brew for a bit. It might come back to me, or it might just stay in the forgotten pile that will never see the light of day. But then other ones seem to just, I see if I can get to the end of it and make it into something. Because it's like I did one for an anthology we did on fairy tales. And it was 3 books. They're only available for a limited time. So the first book was kind of very sweet, sugary type, slow burn, twists on fantasy stories, on fairy tales. The second book was slightly spicy, slightly darker, and then the third book was very dark and very spicy. And we all did a twist on a fairy tale. So we had to keep on saying, this is not for children. So mine was Rapunzel. So I've done one on Rapunzel where her hair is actually an entity as well, and it can mimic. And she's also a vampire succubus. So she's not very nice, Rapunzel, at all. So she's a little bit of an evil one.
So are we talking D&D mimic? Like the hair is essentially a D&D
it can do stuff, and it's kind of, it's almost like, I think I describe in the book as they're both 2 entities and they kind of work together. The hair wants its own thing, but it knows if it stays with her, it's got the safety of her, and she's thinking, well, if I stay with the hair, I've got the safety of the hair, and it's kind of
So they're using each other.
Yes, yeah. But it's kind of, now I've kind of reworked it into an urban fantasy, and I've kind of done how the Grimm brothers wrote the fairy tales. I've actually got the Grimm family are demon hunters intertwined in there. And all that lot. So it's like, yeah, give that a go at some point. And I have actually kind of finished it, but it's very rough. So, but that's set now, so I can actually use proper language. I can actually use hello and goodbye and all that lot, and not having to think of different ways of saying hello and goodbye and all that lot. Because all my fantasy ones is kind of say, well, they can't say hello because there's no invention of a telephone, so they can't use that word. It's like all these things. So that's why my fantasy, they all kind of say I and nay and good eve and good day, and all that. They've kind of made the language more, not medieval, but a medieval type. So it's in a fantasy realm, so it's kind of different. So I've had to rethink certain things that I say, but doing an urban one, I'm thinking, I can use all the normal words. I can say okay.
Yeah, it's different because we don't really think about it. Like if you're reading a fantasy novel and you're just reading contemporary language or current language, it does kind of pull you out of that world a little bit.
Yeah. I've had that with a few where I've been reading, it's supposed to be in a fantasy realm, and then they've said okay, and I've gone, eh? And it's probably, they're making their own worlds and thinking fair enough, but it kind of throws me a bit. And I know I was looking into things, and things like, I think I asked them at the time when I was still on Twitter, which I'm not now, but I think I put something like, you say hello in a fantasy world? And most people came out saying, well, no, you wouldn't, because hello was invented because of the telephone. Do they have a telephone? And I went, no, they don't. So it's kind of little things like that that make you think, yeah, I'll change that. But it just makes it more of a world as well. It kind of gets you more embedded into the world because they've got slightly different sayings and stuff. So I think you give it a go.
So, speaking of like learning, of figuring out what they would say, so that's like having to learn what the etymology of a word is, and when it developed, and where it came from. And so what would you say, like, feeding off of that concept, is the hardest thing that you find about writing? Like, when you're writing, what's the thing you find the most difficult?
Stopping my characters going off on a tangent. But I'm like going, shh, you write this down, and they're kind of going, I've decided. But it's kind of, I can't, I see it as a film in my head when I'm writing. So sometimes I can't quite get what I see in my head down on paper. So it takes me a while to kind of get it to work. But it's kind of, with me, it's, I want to try and make the characters believable. Because I mean, it was down to the fact that in Outcast with Lara and Derwin, I'm an only child, so I have got no brothers, no siblings at all. But I wanted that sibling chemistry, and I just thought, I'm thinking this works. I have no idea if this works or not because I haven't got a sibling. But if I had a sibling, I think I'd like them to be like this. And I did it. But then a few people come out and say, oh, the sibling chemistry between them was brilliant. I was going, it's okay then. Phew, that worked.
And that could be such a hard one too, because sibling connections are so different. They're not always strongly bonded. Sometimes the trauma tears them apart. Sometimes it makes them even more strongly bonded. And so it's very, like, that can be such a difficult one to do because everybody's experience is different. But I do think, you showed that this was going to be a bonded sibling, and you did show the interactions very well between them. I think, of, that overprotective, teasing feeling, that you get out of her brother as he got older. And
he's got older, he started saying, "On a minute, I'm the protector here."
Let's no. What, like, what? He's like, I know you've done stuff before, but you've never done it in front of me before. What is this?
That's the bit.
And so that was kind of fun to read because you're sitting there sniggering, going, ugh, teenage boys, thinking that, trying to protect his older sister. And so it was kind of funny. And you did do a good job of that dynamic, and that whole scene made me laugh. It made me snigger, reading that scene. So, but yeah, I could see that, like, if your characters are constantly going off on tangents and trying to reel them back in line.
Back in again. I mean, sometimes I'll go with them and go, okay, where do you want to go? Let's see where you want to take me. And sometimes I go, actually, that's quite a good idea. Other times we kind of hit a brick wall and go, yeah, let's come back to where we're supposed to be and let's carry on now and do it that way. But I think as well, I don't really plot. I just see where the story takes me. I kind of know roughly I don't know what the ending is, but I know it when I get there. I kind of go, yeah, that's the ending I want. Okay. And I kind of, with me, I write it in order. And I just keep on writing until my brain kind of goes, yeah, that's kind of where it should end. And then I look back and go, yikes, I've got to now actually make sense of all this. And then I have to try and there's finding lots of areas with capital letters of need more here. I'm thinking, yes, I do. I still don't know what I need there. So I can't read it through again and something like that. But I just think, to be honest, I just enjoy the writing. And then I think if people enjoy the stories as well, it's even better. So.
Okay. What's your favorite part about writing?
Um, I think it's just the development of the characters because I kind of get an idea and then I want to see where they go. And then I mean, it's like the whip I'm working on now. I've got the one character who suddenly found out about his past. He was kind of just a side character, but I actually really like him. And I'm thinking, I want to do more with him. And when you get a character, because like the main characters are really attached to, and I want to see where they go, and I enjoy their journey, but then I hate it when I know what I have to do at certain points in stories as well. And it's like, yeah, I've got to do something. The reader's not going to like it. I don't like it, but I need this to happen. And they're the bits where I don't like writing. As I'm sitting there crying my eyes out, going, I know it's just what I've got to do.
I don't want to, but I have to.
It's one of those, but I
It has
think,
to develop somehow.
yeah, because I think I had one reader say something to me, and I said, just wait until you read the next book, and then you'll make perfect sense. And when they did, I went, oh yeah, of course, that makes perfect sense. I think, there you go. There's logic behind everything. There's something there's a logic behind it all.
Everything has its reason. We just have to figure it out.
To figure it out. Sometimes my brain hasn't quite figured it out, and then I go, that's why it suddenly slots into place. I mean, like this whip at the moment that he got no idea who his parents were because I did this scene where it was about siblings where she was saying about, well, have you got siblings? And he kind of went, I don't even know who my parents are. It's like, oh. And I didn't really think any more about it, but my brain had already decided you've got that bit there already. You're now going to have it come later on.
All right. So what do you have a favorite character in the books that you've written, like one that seems to just kind of stick with you and continuously want to come out in every book? Or
Um, I kind of Lara's kind of my alter ego of if I was immortal, what would I do? I'd definitely do what she did. But I think my favourite is kind of a bit of a cross between Khan and Garth. I think partly Garth because actually I wrote Quest of Stone well before I did the Outcast ones, but I couldn't get it to work, so I just put it to one side. But I've always liked him. He's
Mhm.
and bizarre, and it's really, really bizarre. I had this image of Garth in my head for years, and I'm saying like years, like 10, 15 years. He's been this image in my head. And then I saw Henry Cavill, and I went, "That's Garth." So it was like he was born from my imagination. I don't know. It's like that's spooky that he looks just like her. But how did that happen? Because it's kind of not how he is as if it was kind of, I think it wasn't the Tudors, it was another film he was in, and he got like longish curly hair. It was like a medieval one, and it was almost a spitting image of Garth. It's like, jeez, that is Garth. Um, and it was very spooky 'cause I'd never seen him before. I'd never seen Henry Cavill before, but it just was there. But so Garth is kind of my favourite because I've always liked him. But it's kind of the female characters. I think Lara is my favourite because she's just my alter ego. If I could keep hooked, I would definitely do what she does.
I think most of us would. Um,
Yeah. I have this in a
Most of
monologue.
us fantasy
So if I get a
readers would
situation, I think, what would Lara do? I think, yeah, I can't really do that because I think I'd go to prison. But I could see aspects of that.
because she is a very strong character, and she does question herself and question things, but once she makes a decision, she kind of sticks with it, and she's like, this is just what we're gonna do, and this is just what we have to do, and she just does what needs to get done, and there's not a lot of, waffling back and forth or reminiscing of what could have been. Or she is very all about business, Laura. She's like, well, this is the way it is now, so let's just deal with it,
Get on with it.
move on.
Yeah.
And I think that I know that sometimes I'm like, I wish I could be more like that, where I'm just like, can I just stick with this decision and do it instead of questioning myself all the time?
Yeah.
And of course, we always question ourselves, and it's how we learn and we grow. But sometimes that just needing that, like, how do I draw on to just feel more confident? And I do, at least from the characters that I read in books, and like in situations, like, can I just be more like that sometimes? And so when I start feeling myself in that moment of like, what do I do? And it's like, how would how would this character like act in this situation? What type of decisiveness, what confidence can I gain from the characters I'm reading about, and kind of take on those personality traits a little bit to a degree, to help me get through different types of situations. And so I really do feel like I learn a lot about myself and who I want to be through the characters, even though they're fantasy characters, or fictional characters. Just seeing different ways of handling different situations, and
Yeah.
helps you be able to pull that when you're having those moments of insecurity, like we all do. I don't know
Oh
anyone
yeah, yeah.
ever had
I used to be very, very shy, very, very reserved and timid. I was just like, I would say boo to a goose when I was younger, totally. So it's kind of, and then I turned 50 and I went, oh, stop that.
Yeah, it does seem like the older I get, the easier it is to just be like,
Yeah, you get to a point where you just think,
doesn't
no,
matter as much
no,
anymore.
yeah. And I think that's partly, I think that's one reason why I published Outcast Origins when that was the first book I published when I was 50. Because I think for years I've been writing and writing. I didn't write for a while, so I was kind of discouraged by my partner at the time and stuff. But then he's gone now, and I kind of got back into my writing again. And I got to the point where I kept on trying agents and stuff and just not getting anywhere because it wasn't mainstream. And then I just suddenly thought, well, all people are doing it on Amazon. They're just publishing it. So I thought, do you know what? I think it's ready to go. Let's just do it. And I just published it and thought it'll either flop or not. So I did an ISBN through for Amazon. I did as little cost as possible. So I thought if it doesn't work, it doesn't matter. I've not really spent much on it. It's just my time and effort. I designed my own cover. I did all the formatting. I did everything myself. And then I got people saying, that was nice. I really enjoyed that. I went, what? You actually liked it? And then I went, I can write another one.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just the courage to do it in the first place.
Yeah.
Like I said before, it's the reason why I do the podcast now. And why I try not to edit it too much, try not to worry about it too much. People are going to like it or they're going to hate it. And there's always going to be people that are going to hate it, but there will always be some people who really enjoyed it. And if nothing else, I get to meet and interview and talk with some amazing people. All of you are, in my opinion, extremely courageous, because it takes so much courage to take something that is so dear to your heart and put it out there for people to judge.
Yeah. Yeah. 'Cause
And that's what, book reviews and whether you get stars or what people say about your book, they are judging your book for better or worse. And once you put it out there, you have no control what people are going to say or how
No,
they're going to react. And
yeah.
to be able to take that on and be like, well, it is what it is. Like, that's a lot of courage.
Yeah. So I think that's one reason why I did Outcast Origins and New Beginnings before I even released Quest of the Stone, because Quest of the Stone is kind of more close to my heart with the story wise. Because at the time when I wrote it, I was in a place where I literally didn't want to be. I wanted to be somewhere else. I wanted to be in a fantasy world. I wanted to go through a portal and just be somewhere and be something else completely different because I was not happy or anything. So that story, I mean, I've tweaked it around and changed a few things about it, but the main aspect of the story was I wanted to escape from this world. And I thought if I had a fantasy portal, I could portal to a different world and became something special of some type of legend or whatever, and give me some purpose in life. That's what I want to do. And of course, I kind of did it more for me personally, but then when I did Outcast and New Beginnings, I kind of went, well, actually, Quest has got. I've even put about it in that book. I can't now not leave it. So I went over it again and tweaked it around and just made it a bit less personal, so to speak, and made it more of an adventure. And then thought, see how that one goes. And it just is most of the time in the books, I just think, well, this is a story I like. I'm happy with it. My editor goes through it and she goes, yeah, it's ready to go. So I think, right, there it goes. Some people are going to love it, some people are going to hate it, but that's out there. Because the thing is, as well, I always think the world would be very, very boring if everybody liked the same thing.
Right. If everybody liked the color green, we would never have it, everything would be
Yeah,
green.
everything would be just so boring because everybody likes the same thing. So I know that. I mean, I've read books that I get 5 stars, and I'm going, God, this is awful. Where you think with books, for somebody that they really enjoy that book. For me, I didn't. Same with films and TV shows. Some films you think, yeah, that was fantastic. Others, I think, no. And you think, yeah, if everybody liked everything, it would be such a boring place. Where everybody's got their own individual taste. Some books are more popular than others, yes, but I'm just thinking, I want to just put my books out there. If it ends up on somebody's bookshelf who I don't even know, and they enjoyed the story and got something out of it, I'm happy. I'd love reviews, but I just think as long as they've read it and they've enjoyed it, I'm thinking, yeah. And they like my characters. I mean, I've had people come back saying, oh, I love so and so. I thought they were a brilliant character. And I think, thank you.
How, like, that's got to be so rewarding too. And uh, just to know that you were able to create something that spoke to somebody else in some way. Even if it was just to entertain them, it gave them joy.
Yeah.
And so that's such an amazing thing to like know that you were able to bring to somebody's world. And I just like I know what I'm trying to say. I don't know how to say it.
I get that with my son sometimes. I get that with my son, and my son just sits there and goes, she'll get there in a minute. She'll get there. And I'm going,
Yeah.
it's, and he's like, well,
I do that thing where I tell my husband, I'm like, can you hand me the thing that's on the thing that's over
the what's it?
there by that other thing? And he just looks at me and he goes, can you wait 30 more seconds and ask that again? I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
It's like, he goes, try to find the word first.
So at the moment, it's like I'm going through menopause, and my son is 16. So I've got 16-year-old boy hormones in the house plus mine. So it's a very strange combination in the house. I mean, but I'm glad it's just us two, to be honest. Anybody else in the house, I think would kill them. But we both kind of know, yes, you have your hormones, I have my hormones. We just get on with it. We'll be fine. So walk into a room and go, I came in here for something. but I can't remember what.
Yeah, it's really frustrating when I can remember where something is that I put somewhere 5 years ago that is of no importance, but I cannot find my keys. Like I
I've
had
had that one before.
yesterday. How do I know where this weird, odd Christmas decoration is, but I can't find the thing I had in my hand 10 minutes ago?
Or like you're holding your phone while you're going, where is my phone?
Oh my God.
Does that mean I can do my time plot of my books, but then my son will ask me something and I go, no.
Yeah. What? Yeah, there's, I've done that looking for my keys and they're in my hand, and I'm like, at least I haven't gotten to the point where I've actually like put it in the refrigerator, like put
No,
my
I've not
phone
done
in
that
the
yet.
refrigerator and been like, where did I put my phone? Like, I've heard stories of other people, and I'm like, I haven't done that yet, but I wouldn't put
No,
it
I've not done that yet.
I would not put it past me, because I've definitely like gone to put ice cream in the freezer and put it in the fridge instead of the freezer.
I tell
And
you, I think I got breakfast cereal in the fridge once and then went to put the milk in the cupboard and went, that's the wrong way around.
um, so earlier you said something about getting the ISBN in with Amazon. We talked about that in the original interview, and I want to cover that again real quick. And then
Yeah.
we'll go back over your works, and then we'll call it a day because I've got to get back to packing. We're leaving on Friday, so and then I've got to get this posted tomorrow and everything.
It's like, oh, yes. When I first published, I just went with the free ISBNs that Amazon offer, which, to be honest, if you just want to go through Amazon, it's a brilliant way to go. But I found that when I then went to an independent bookstore and asked them, and at the time I was thinking about getting ISBNs, they said, oh, yeah, we can't take that book because it's an Amazon ISBN, so you're not really the publisher. So we can't take it. I mean, it could be something to the UK, it could be something like that with that bookstore, I don't know. But I then looked into it and I realised I was restricted, that I couldn't then sell my books myself. I couldn't do anything with them because I had to go through Amazon. So when I decided I was going to do more, I took the plunge and I bought myself 100 ISBNs. I'd saved up a lot because they're not cheap. I mean, one ISBN in the UK is about 90 quid, 90 pounds. And then I think you can get like 10 for 100 and 200 and something, I think. Did have to double check. I don't know what it's like for America. I know America, you have to buy your ISBNs through Bowker, I think it is. For Nielsen, it's UK, it's Nielsen, and I think it's Bowker for US, if I remember right. I think Australia is the same. I think they have to pay, but I think some countries they don't have to. But I thought, stop it. I worked out that each book you need at least 3 ISBNs because you need one for your ebook, one for your paperback, one for your hardback. A few people say you don't need one for an ebook, but you're always best to put one on an ebook because Nielsen want one for your ebook because you have to register them. I bought my 100 ISBNs, which are now mine, and the publisher to them and everything. They're fully mine, nobody else's, and I've got the full list. I then, as I publish a book, I select an ISBN and then I have to register it into the Nielsen database for each version of the book. So you have to run for each one. So what I did was, for the Ranger series, they're the first ones I use my own ISBNs for. So those are still available through Amazon, but I could go and take some paperbacks to an independent bookshop and they would take them because I had full rights.
Mm-hmm.
And I can sell them wherever I want. I have no issues with that or anything. I mean, I think some people with the Amazon ones, they probably have done this and they probably will be fine, but if you look at the actual rules, you've got to be really careful, and you have rights, but you don't at the same time. Where if you've got the ISBN, you are fully in control, and you can go wide, you can do whatever you like. You can go just completely exclusive with Amazon, but you could also go wide with Ingram, Draft to Digital, whatever. So what I did then was, for the Outcast Origins and Outcast New Beginnings, I had to republish them. So I couldn't just put a new ISBN on the book. You have to literally unpublish that version of the book and make a new book. So I hadn't had an editor for the first two. I kind of did it myself because I was doing it cheap.
Mm-hmm.
I realised that, hey, if I'm going to do this properly and I want my readers to actually get my books at the full potential, I found a really good editor. She was fantastic. So she went through the two books for me, and she said, to be honest, they aren't as bad as I thought. She says, yes, you think they are, they're not that bad. So I thought, thank God. But she then tweaked the way it needed to be tweaked, sorted all the bits out that need to be done. I redid the covers, put my own ISBNs on, and republished the second editions. But I've got the full rights to them now, so I can put them wherever I like. So I've now got all my books now are going to be on my own ISBN. So when you go on Amazon, it will see it actually shows as the publisher, and the publisher is AJ Ashton, as well as the author being AJ Ashton, because that's my imprint. So it's fully mine. Where I think if there's an ISBN you use Amazon, it says publisher Amazon. So it's kind of, I'd have to look back and find out now, but I think it's says Amazon.
I'm gonna have to look at that now.
Yeah, and it's one of those where I think somebody else said the same thing. She'd heard the same thing, saying if you get your own ISBNs, you have more power. You've got full control over everything more. I mean, you've got full control as an indie author anyway, but you have full control if you have the ISBNs. The only thing you have to watch, which I've found, is I published one book on Amazon, but the paperback I delayed and did it through Ingram first.
Mm-hmm.
And Ingram did a slight little hiccup. And Ingram gives their database goes to Bowker in the States. So Amazon looks at that database for ISBNs, and they wouldn't let me publish the book because they said the imprint didn't match. What do you mean the imprint doesn't match? Because I went on Ingram, it was the same thing. And what it boiled down to is my imprint is AJ, both capital letters, Ashton.
Mm-hmm.
In the database that Ingram had got, it had automatically made the J a lowercase. So when it went to Bowker, they saw it as a lowercase j Ashton. Because of that little difference, Amazon wouldn't let me publish my paperback because it wasn't AJ with a lowercase j, so a capital J.
Oh, wow.
I then emailed Bowker and said, when I figured out what was going on, I went to them directly. And they went, oh, really sorry. Yeah, it's lowercase, and they made it uppercase within an hour, and it was all sorted. But there's little things that I was completely confused because thinking, yeah, but my ISBNs are coming from Nielsen in the UK. Why have you got them? And then he said, oh, yeah, well, Ingram sends this database through every month of all the books they get, and we match up our data. Of course, we also get the ones that aren't on our system. You pop them into our system, so we've got them all in there, even though they're not ours. They're in our system, so people can search any ISBN. So I was like, I didn't do that. So there you go, get a little bit of information there as well, because that was only just because they made a site balls up on my imprint. So I think it was going on for weeks. I was like, it felt like months. I think it was only probably about a week, 2 weeks, and I was in this argument with Amazon, and they're saying, but it's not matching. Saying, but it's a theme, and then they realised what the issue was because what they were doing, and then I figured out what Ingram was doing. It was that, there we go. I found this trace. I figured it out. That's the problem. So I was like, yes.
That's
yes, but
crazy.
apart from that, having your ISBNs is the best thing.
Such a little thing as a typo.
Yeah, it was just literally a typo. And it was like, oh. So, but it got there in the end and sorted. But you still got more power when it's your own ISBNs than if you haven't. So I'm glad I did it in the end.
So I ended up signing up for Kindle Unlimited to make it easier to read the author's books, because some books have done what you said. Some of the indie authors that I interview have done what you said, and they only go through Amazon. And so some of them I could only get on KU. They weren't available any other way. And so I had to get a KU so I could read their books.
Yeah. It depends what you want to do, because it's ebooks. Ebooks is the issue you get with Amazon. You can go fully wide with a paperback with no problems whatsoever. You can go fully wide with an ebook with Amazon, unless you do Kindle Unlimited. If an author decides to do their ebook on Kindle Unlimited, we cannot put our ebook anywhere else. It can only be on Kindle Unlimited because they've got an exclusivity. So you can't go, if you want it on that, you can't put your ebook anywhere else. That's why when people get Kindle Unlimited, they get quite a big choice of indie authors, because we literally can't go anywhere else. We're there. Where our paperbacks, we can go wide. So if I decide to come off Kindle Unlimited, I could then go wide with my ebook, but I probably won't get as many reads.
Yeah.
So.
And Amazon makes it easy and cheap for you guys. Of course, your royalties are pretty big.
No, yes. I think my royalties last month, I could get myself a nice coffee. We don't get much when you actually look. You see the cost of a book. We don't get any of that. We get a smidgen of what that is. And there's all the printing costs and all the other stuff, and
yeah, and my understanding of how like Amazon pays authors back is it's by the pages read.
Page reads a very, very, very small amount, and it's like in 0.000 something pence or cents in America per page read. But you have to also add on to that, if I keep my ebooks pretty simple, because you can get stung by, if you make your ebook too fancy, the file size is quite big, which then puts on a delivery cost for an ebook. So even if it's going to Kindle Unlimited or you're buying the ebook, there's a delivery cost involved. That comes out our royalties. So we get a percentage, then they take off the delivery cost of that percentage as well, then their cost for that, and then we get what's left. So I've come to the conclusion is I make my ebooks pretty basic. I put a bit of the graphic of the maps in there. I make a fancy-ish header, but that's it. I don't make it too fancy because I want to keep the file size small to not have to pay that delivery cost, because it will sting me. But then what I do is I kind of go on the impression that you're only paying a small amount for an ebook and you're getting on Kindle Unlimited. But if you're buying the paperback where you're paying $12.99, that's in the UK price, I'm thinking, well, you might as well get something nice for that. So I really go out on the paperbacks and do nice headers, fancy text, and nice map and all that lot, and really go pull out and make it really fancy, because it doesn't matter on the size of the file because it's the paperback.
It's interesting that there's a delivery fee on
the ebooks.
On an ebook. That was something that didn't come up in our last conversation.
Yeah, it's something I only just remembered about it, because I think it was something, I'm doing a promo at the moment. And I remember the last time I did a promo, I was getting really small amount. I was like putting them on for 99p, and I was only getting anything. And then I looked and saw the file size, and then saw the delivery fee, and I went, oh, yeah. So my 99p, I'm getting 20p. No, actually 10p because of the delivery cost. Okay, so yes, that's how much I've got. So then I went, I'm making all my file sizes smaller.
So yeah, it can be. So most of the indie authors that I talk to all have other jobs. They're working full-time or part-time. they either break even or pay for their books to be published and be out there. And so it's which is just another one of the reasons why, like, as I get moving it and as things grow, one of the other reasons in wanting to do the podcast and kind of interview you guys, but also like being able to offer those books through my blind date with a book for that raises funds for animal rescue efforts. And so since I'm moving to go take care of family, I have friends that are taking over the Texas, what I started here in Austin, and working with those rescues, and they're going to continue that here. And I'm going to go to my grandma's in California and go help take care of her, and continue to do this out there. And so one of the things that I do offer through the website and on the tables is indie books. So I try to buy direct from indie authors whenever I have the funds available to do so, and get them out on the table. And so it helps. It's like the smaller ways of trying to contribute back, because you guys really do put your heart and soul, like you know, everything that you've said, you've put your heart and in Quest of the Stone, the Ranger series, part of like your story and something that was super close to you into that book. And it just, you know, you don't get the publishing it and all of that because you have literally paid to put this out there for other people to be able to see or consume. And so, which is another reason that it takes so much courage to do that, because for me, right, I'm doing this video, there's a little bit of a cost in the editing program that I bought so that I could add your book titles, and then I upload it to YouTube, and that's free.
Yeah.
So I think I paid $50 for the year, and then a couple of, you know, for cameras and the video, you know, but you're literally paying out every time you put a book out.
Yeah.
And with delivery,
definitely.
it end up actually costing you.
I mean, I'm lucky because I mean, I format myself because for my day job, because I work full time, my day job, I do design in my day job. So I format my own books. I design my own covers, but I do pay for an editor. I did have to buy the software to do my formatting and design my covers, and then probably have to purchase some artwork from websites and stuff as well. For some like for the headers in the Outcast things, I had to go to a Shutterstock and buy an image to put it into the system. And then of course buying the ISBNs and all that. There's all those little costs involved. I mean, there's no way on this planet I could do writing full time. There's no way it's going to happen. I need my day job.
Yeah.
Just to pay the bills and look after a teenage son. I've got all that to do. It's like, yeah, so, and then I try and keep my costs for my writing as small as possible, but I still have to do certain things you still have to pay out for. And you're thinking, well, if I want to get this book published, I need to pay my editor. I need to get that paid for. I need to get some artwork done, etc. It does still add up. You don't realise until you suddenly look at it. I don't think I've even broken even yet on what I've paid, but I'm thinking, it's got out there. Eventually, I'll start getting the money back. I mean, the amount I'm getting at the moment, I'm thinking, yeah, I've not even covered the costs of what I've paid out. But I'm thinking, I'm looking at it's more of a marathon than a sprint. You've got to kind of think, you've got to look at the bigger picture, thinking you've got to get enough books out there to get noticed. And when you do get noticed, you will then start to get the money back. It's just a slower process. I think it will eventually get there.
Yeah, it takes time, and we live in a world of instant gratification, and it can be hard to come to terms with the fact that it takes time for things to grow and for things to move forward and to build the trust and the rapport with people, and just to put enough stuff out there to be seen because we have the world at our fingertips now. You know, we can order things from anywhere in the world. And so you're not just competing with people in your area anymore. You're competing globally
Yeah.
with
And
people have out there.
I think from if I look at my sales, I actually sell more books in America than I actually do in my own country of the UK. So I'm a UK author, but I sell more in America.
We're constantly looking for ways to escape reality here. I
But
feel
I think
like
it's
that's only
kind of
getting worse.
I think it is more of a US type of I think that the fantasy romance type thing is more US than UK anyway. I mean, I could be wrong, but I do seem to have more sales in America than I do in the UK. It's like,
Yeah, fantasy romance is a huge thing here. And I feel like there's a little bit of difference. So I would feel like your books are more like fantasy romance, and right now everyone's talking about romantasy. And to me, romantasy is like the romance is more forward than the fantasy, as
yeah,
opposed to being included in the storyline, but not the majority of the story. And so for me,
yeah,
like the way that I see it is romantasy is like we have this romance story that takes place in a fantasy world, where fantasy romance is we have a fantasy world that also has quite a bit of romance in it.
yeah,
And so
yeah. Because that kind of it's really confusing, even for writers. We're going, which one are we? Are we fantasy romance or romance fantasy? Well, which way around do we need to do it?
yeah, and so like in reading yours, I feel it's more of a fantasy with an aspect of romance in it.
Yeah,
Especially, and of course, you know, you say the romance becomes more forward in New Beginnings, but in Outcast Origins, um, it is definitely more, to me, more fantasy
it is. Yeah, it's more because the romance is
and
later anyway in the first book. I mean, the second book. I mean, it's got more love scenes in it, and there is more the romance because they are together more.
mm,
But they're still fighting creatures. They're still fighting monsters. She's still
yeah,
so it's still I think it's still because I always say my books are a high fantasy adventure with a sprinkle of romance.
well, you get,
Because I don't want to push the romance too much because I know romance readers
mhm,
like certain tropes and certain things to happen, and I know mine don't tick all the boxes, and I don't want to upset the romance readers. So I kind of go, it's got a sprinkle of romance because I
yeah.
don't always have a happy ending.
Well, it's one of my favorite authors, Jacqueline Carey, and she does a lot of high fantasy. She's had a couple of more contemporary that came out too, but my absolute favorite series from her, and one of my favorite of all time, and I talk about it almost every chance I get. Not, but Kushiel's Legacy, and the main character is a courtesan. So there is clearly a lot of sex happening in that book, and a lot of things going on because the main character is a trained courtesan. But even then, I consider hers to be fantasy with romance because the way that she carries it through is the development of the character, and you see the changes in how she reacts to different clients and over time and things. And in those scenes there is huge things that happen in the plot, and so you might have like a page of this scene, but there's like one line that somebody says and that's a big plot turning point.
You like go,
So
ooh.
to me, like even though the romance is there, it's and very forward in that the main it's not about the romance as much as it is about the character. And I think that that to me is the difference, where like when I read Akatar or Fourth Wing, those are very much about the character's development happens only through the romantic.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, because I'm reading Iron Flame at the moment. So I've read Fourth Wing and I'm just doing Iron Flame. So I know what you mean. It is kind of very much like it is on the romance side of how the characters develop.
and Rebecca Yarros is a contemporary romance author. This is her first jaunt into fantasy romance. Is the Fourth Wing, and I forget what the name of the series is, but
I can't remember either. I should know because I'm reading the second book, but I can't remember what it's called.
but and they're good stories. They're good
Yeah.
stories, but they are romantic-y stories to me. Rebecca Yarros has a little bit more of a lesson learned in the taking away history. Like the biggest theme for me in that book, aside from the romance story, was that the concept and idea that it only takes one generation to forget history. It takes one
Yeah.
generation of people hiding history to unlearn history
Yeah.
and really screw up the world.
Yeah, and that's what I like about that. That's the spot I like about it, is all that bit. It's like, but no.
There's a lot of romance in it, but she has that real undercurrent of like, be careful about,
Yeah.
whitewashing your history and making it
Adapting
feel
bits and just
better.
changing and translating it and forgetting to put certain bits in. It's like, yep,
Yeah.
there we go. And
And,
that's what I was thinking. I thought there could be more for this, do more of this.
and she does a good job in that. And so,
Yeah.
like, just going back to the differences, like, there does seem to be almost like romantasy is its own subgenre, and a lot of people use it as like a fantasy book, any fantasy book that has romance in it, and I'm like, it's not the same. Like,
Not the same, yeah, it is different, yeah.
because like the Jacqueline Carey series, there's a lot of sex scenes. They're very detailed. I would not consider that smut. I wouldn't consider it, or in that terminology that people use to describe romantasy books, so, or romance.
Yeah, because it's like I write love scenes. I've got open door love scenes. That's how I promote them, because there is sex involved, but it's a love scene. They are in love with each other and they are making love. And
Yeah.
I don't have all the smuttiness in there. I try and keep it pretty, like, more warm and
It was warm,
loving.
and it was streamlined. Like, there wasn't a lot of the excess fluff, and it wasn't expressing all the excess details. It went through the motions of it
Yeah.
and moved
And then it's like, yeah.
past it. And so like that, like there's a big difference in that. And so, but again, I say that's my opinion because I know other people don't feel that way about it, but that's how I feel about it. Like, I would not consider your stuff in that genre. Yours is fantasy with romance.
Yeah.
So that was a long-winded way of saying what I think your genres are.
There. With it.
Sometimes I get wordy. I don't.
I know what you mean. I sometimes go long way to come, then go, actually, I need to come back again because I only wanted to say that. But I'm going all the way down there.
And then, of course, we can start talking about other books, and then I could go on for days about all these different books and all of these. And I don't know why I have the need to bring up Kushiel's Legacy every interview, but I do. Surprised I didn't bring up Stephen King, even though I don't read Stephen King. I think he has amazing story plots. And then I just
writing was
bring up
good.
Stephen King, as I said, I didn't. I have a hard time reading, like, the cadence of the way he tells a story is hard for me.
Yeah, I've read some of his. There's some I really like, but others I kind of go, can't quite get into them. But then there's other ones I mean, like, I love Christine, and Salem's Lot.
Mm-hmm.
But then I think I tried another one. I think The Tower, and I couldn't quite get in it. And I thought, I like this little, but then I get that. When people say, "Who's your favorite author?" I go, "Well, I don't really have one
Yeah.
because I flick between different authors because I look at the story. The story what draws me. I think it's like my favorite book is Bram Stoker's Dracula because I like the story.
Yeah.
And then, but I also then look at the other books I've got. I've got all the Witcher series because I like those stories. And then I've got the Shannara Chronicles. I like those stories. I flick between different ones. Yeah.
I do.
And it just, I'm a mood reader. I will go from different things. And it's like,
I really wish that they would have continued that show. I feel like they did such a good job with the show, even though it's not the books exactly. No shows ever are.
no,
But
I mean, that's what you get with The
Chronicles was so
Witcher.
fun.
The Witcher is the books. The thing is, I've played the game, I've read the books, and I've watched the TV show. I keep them all in their separate little boxes.
Yeah. See, and
Because
my
they're all
husband couldn't
separate.
do that with the Wheel of Time. He watched the first episode of Wheel of Time and said, "Nope, can't do it." And it was because did they made Perrin like kill his wife in the first episode, and he's like, "No, no, nope."
Yeah.
And then they turned Matt, instead of being a prankster where he was like stealing a pie and pulling a prank on they made him an actual like thief where he was trying, and his dad was like the town drunk, and like in the book his dad was actually in good standing in the community and part of like the circle of men elders that was, and my husband like couldn't get past that. He was like, "No, I can't get past this."
I have to just. My son was the same. He's read all the, like I said, this Game of Thrones. He tried to watch TV show and he couldn't because he says, "No, that character's wrong. That one's wrong." And I said, "Well, but I can decompartmentalize. I can actually do it because the fact with The Witcher, I completely separated them out.
Yeah.
So I like watching the show. I love playing the game, and I like the books, but I don't compare them.
Yeah, they have to be completely
separate entities.
They're like out, yeah. Because if you try to compare it's near impossible, and it's so hard.
Makes your brain melt.
But it's so hard to transfer a book and get all of that detail into the movie. And if you actually did, most of the time you would find the movie boring. So they have to find ways to shorten it and things that they change because the story
ties it up and make it more,
the way you tell a story on film versus the way you tell it in a book is different. And we don't always recognize that until they try to do it exact. And then you're like, and even then people complain like, there's something wrong somewhere. You're thinking, so I just keep them separate. I think I just totally keep them separate. But I've also lined up all the actors I do want to play my characters in my book. So when the film industry do come and say, I said, right, these are the actors. I'm ready to go. Yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing is we all see different characters when we read a book, and a lot of people will input themselves as the main character. So the main character could
do it,
blue or purple, but we oftentimes readers will see it as themselves. And so when they see the main character or the side characters that they related to on film, but they had put themselves in there, and they then have different characteristics, you're going, but wait, what? This is not,
that's not right.
It's not right. And even though it is to the book exactly describes them exactly, we change them to fit what is comfortable
when you're writing. We kind of describe the character probably in chapter 1, 2 or whatever whenever they come into it, and then we may put a smidge in later on with their eye color or hair color, but we don't really describe the character continuously through the book. So, and I know for a fact that I've done it myself when I'm reading the book, the character might have been described with blonde hair, blue eyes, but by the time I'm halfway through, that character's got brown hair and brown eyes because I'm that character.
Yeah.
And even though I know the character's blonde with blue eyes, my brain is going, yeah, but that's you. That's you doing that scene now.
Yeah. And, and I've done that too. And I'm like, where I've gone back and there were like, oh, and then this character has this color. And I'm like, I don't remember what. And so I have to go back and go, oh, they have. I've been picturing them this way. And like, and I do, I often change characters that have blonde hair to characters with brown hair. I almost never keep a character with blonde hair. Um,
Yeah, but you mentioned in your head, you're going, right, yes, that's me. Okay, there we go.
so it's like when characters have blonde hair, it's really weird for me for some reason. Like I can't, my brain doesn't want them to be blonde. Makes no
I do the
sense,
same.
but it does. It changes it to brown or black or something else like halfway through the book. Um, especially if they're the villain.
Suddenly they have to. Somehow they need to have dark hair if they're a villain. It's just, I don't know what it is, but my brain, when I see a villain, it's already the dark hair, dark eye. That's the villain.
Yeah. And so when they make the villain not, and I think it's because growing up, that's what it was, right? So growing up, Prince Charming in all the Disney movies was always blonde haired, blue eyed, green eyed. And the villain was always in black, always dark eyeshadow, always, in shadow. And so they always just seemed darker. And so that was the way storytelling was done when we were younger. And so growing up, we just have this idea that if they're a bad character, they have to be dark. And which is not true. It's just what we were molded into growing up.
Yeah,
Every
exactly.
every
To
Disney
be about Star Wars.
watched, the bad guy is always in shadow and dark character. I mean, even Gaston is dark hair with the darker eyes and kind of that, always in the dark. Every scene in that cartoon gets darker when he's in it. And so, with all that foreshadowing of this is going to be the real bad guy. And so it just, I blame Disney. I blame Disney. Okay, so let's go over your list. So, Outcast: The Return, which is the third and final of the Terran Fall series, comes out September 2nd. So we're just around the corner from that, just like 2 weeks.
Lovely, yes.
So that comes out September 2nd. And then you also have the
Chronicles.
Ranger Chronicles, which is separate but tied to. So there's Easter egg in both series. And then there's also if you wanted to read them because they're in the same world, you can read them separately and individually, but you can also read them together. And if you wanted to read them together, you read them. There's a reading order. Can you go over that?
Yeah, the reading order is I'll put in the front of the books as well, but it's reading, if it's in timeline order, it's Outcast Origins, Outcast New Beginnings, then Quest of the Stone, then Quest of the Broken Stone, and then Outcast: The Return.
Okay.
That's the timeline order. But you can just, because the kind of the legend of the Guardian of the Stone, it's kind of is before Lara's time, but also while Lara's alive. So when the actual legend began, it was it was hundreds of years before she was born. But then when the traveller arrives, it's actually while she's a hybrid of the land. So it's kind of, it crosses over her timeline. So I kind of done it in the timeline order of Outcast, Origins, New Beginnings, then Quest Broken Stone, and then the Return one. But as I said, you can read them separately. But there are Easter eggs in the books. So there are characters mentioned. Lara's mentioned in the Quest of Stone books, and the Guardians of the Stone is mentioned in the Outcast Origins, and also the fact of the Guardians of the Stone are mentioned in, because I think in Outcast Origins there's a bit where Khan's father is kind of telling me you can't go to the cult of the Guardians of the Stone because Khan is actually thinking of joining them to become a guardian. And there's a bit in Outcast Origins where he takes her to that clearing with the pond. That entire area is also in Quest and Stone because it's actually the farm next to it is Garth's family's farm. So there's all those little teeny connections all over the place, which is more shown more drastically in the Return because Evie and Lara come together in Outcast and Return. They actually mention things saying, what do you mean you've been here? But I've been here as well. And then there's all those little, you see all the little bits tying up of, oh, so they've both done that. They've both been there. They've both gone to that bit. So you kind of get a bit more of all the intertwining coming together in that book. It's my head. It's got everything squantering around.
All right. So, and then you have a bunch of other projects that they need to be on the lookout for. So they definitely need to be following you on social media. You have an Instagram account.
Instagram, Threads, got a Facebook page. I'm on Blue Sky. I'm on Tone. I'm on TikTok. Yeah,
it's so hard to keep up with all the things.
Trying to keep up with them all. So hold on. Luckily, you can post on like Instagram and it'll instantly post on Threads and on Facebook all at the same time. So straight away, I've got 3 done.
Yeah, I've been having issues with TikTok telling me when I try to go in and advertise what we do. They're either telling me that's not your product that you're selling because we have a TikTok shop. They're like, that's not your product that you're selling, or they're like, you're trying to coerce people into buying from you. And I'm like, I'm not trying to coerce people. But the whole reason I set up this business was to raise awareness and funds for animal rescues. So I don't really know how to separate that from selling the book because like the whole purpose I'm selling the book is to do
to get to, yes, it's like
so I've kind of negated TikTok at this point and until I can figure out a better way to use it because it's
I don't do TikTok very often. I never quite know what to put up there sometimes, so I kind of mainly keep to Instagram.
Yeah,
that's easier. So yeah, I know what I'm doing on that one.
That and the Instagram posts the 3 things at once for you, so you're like, okay, those 3 are taken.
Just once I'm covered.
All right, AJ. Well, we're getting to about an hour and a half, so I'm gonna.
Yes.
It's hard. I keep trying to do an hour, and I can't not because we get talking and we're just having so much fun that it's really hard to do less than an hour and a half. It seems. Maybe I just need to change the time frame. Tell everyone be prepared for.
Be prepared. This is going to be
right. So thank you for joining us today. I really appreciate you making time to redo this interview. I'm just gonna put all my mistakes out there for everybody to know.
It happens. It's like you sit there thinking, yeah. Okay. I mean, I did it with my book. I formatted my book. I thought I'd done it really well. I changed one little bit, didn't think about it, sent off for the proof. The proof came back, and the last 10 chapters, everything was wrong because it had all shifted up one line, and half of my words had gone into the past the actual chapter point into the chapters before. And I went, that's not right. Okay, it was a proof. I couldn't
Yeah.
change it.
It's
But
so,
yeah.
but yeah, so thank you again. I'm glad that was just a proof.
Yes, I'm glad it was just a
That
proof.
would have been like horrifying.
Oopsie. Like this is the right. Why is the chapter kind of not starting in the right place? But there's I think
Right. Um, so well, thank you again for joining me again. And we'll get this out tomorrow. By the time everyone sees it, it will be Thursday, 8/21. And again, Outcast the Return, the third book in the Terranfall series, it will be out on September 2nd. You can find AJ Ashton's other works on Kindle Unlimited through Amazon. And is there a way for them to buy through you directly, or is it
yeah, I haven't gone down that venture yet. It's you can go to my website to the books, and you can then click on the universal link, which will then take you to all the places you can purchase the books from.
okay?
So, but I think the majority of my sales come from Amazon anyway. So
Okay.
I just usually go, I'm on Amazon.
But I'll also make sure that your website and that link is available and in the description, and run across the screen so people can get that. I always try to prefer to send people directly to the authors to buy it if and when possible, because I know
Yeah,
you
because I've got
more
other
of
stuff on the
that
website.
than going.
So yeah, because I've got other things on the website as well. I've got a bestiary on the website as well, so which connects to the stories. So if you're really into beasts and demons, you can find out more about them on the website.
That's fun. That's fun. Um, so all of that will be added in by the time people hear me saying all of that will be added in. It'll be flashing across the screen. Um, but thank you again. I've really enjoyed our conversations. It's been a lot of fun.
Definitely.
I look forward to doing this again with some of your future projects and seeing what you're up
Definitely.
to. And we're definitely, like, I follow you on Instagram and stuff, so I'll definitely be keeping up with you and kind of what's going on in your world. And I'm just excited. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk with you and learn more about your world and your experience as an author.
Thank you. Nice having chat with you as well.
Oh, thank you. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Yeah.